Welcome to the Golf Improvement Podcast, episode 184.
Welcome to the podcast for golf lovers and enthusiasts who are looking to take their games to new heights. Dedicated to custom club fitting, short game improvement, and effective practice to improve your golf game. This is the Golf Improvement Podcast with your host, Tony Wright.
Hello, this is Tony Wright from Game Improvement Golf in Oak Ridge, Tennessee, with the Golf Improvement Podcast, dedicated to sharing useful information on professional club fitting, short game improvement, and effective practice techniques. I create exceptional golf clubs. You shoot lower scores. At the end of every calendar year, it's been an honor for me to get to interview my German PGA teaching professional friend, Mike McFadden. This is the 8th interview we've done. I asked him this year what he'd like for us to talk about, and he said this time he'd like to exchange tasks and things to do instead of theories and information. And so he asked me to get together something like 5 or 10 skills that golfers need to learn to play better golf, and he'd talk about some great ways to practice them. Well, this is exactly what we did, and get ready for another wonderful Mike McFadden interview.
Taking your game to new heights. www.gameimprovementgolf.com.
Hello, this is Tony Wright with episode 184 of the Golf Improvement Podcast. It's the end of 2021, so welcome back my great friend and mentor, German PGA professional Mike McFadden, to share some great information to help you play your best golf. And it's now 39 years as a PGA professional. And actually, Mike, this is our 8th interview. How about that?
Wow, 8 times. Thanks for having me again, Tony.
Well, you know, it's one of the things I look forward to at the end of the year, and you know, I do it too because I want to learn something. How about that?
Sounds good to me. I always want to learn something.
Yeah. So how about we start with you talking about, and I don't know if a lot of our, friends like in the AGCP and everybody know this, you might be divulging it. What's going on in your golf life?
My golf life was not, I wouldn't say at a standstill this year, but I played about the same amount as I always do, but I'm retiring at the end of the year from being sport director for 29 years. So next year, ask me about my golf life because it's definitely going to be better because I'm going to have a lot more time to play golf. I'll stick around and still do some teaching and fitting and building clubs, but I don't have the responsibility of running the whole facility anymore, so that's going to be great.
Yeah, well, and, you were very blessed, I think, to have that kind of a thing in your life, but it's always time once in a while for a change, so there you go. Well,
yeah. It's okay, good, Tony.
Yeah. Well, we're going to talk a lot and get your input on different types of golf skills and some of the things that you suggest people do to improve them, but it's funny, when I set these questions up, I thought, well, maybe we shouldn't talk about this definition, but then you fed back, we got to talk about it. So what do you view as the definition of skills? And we'll start with that. What it is to create a skill.
In golf, what you want is like in life, competence. And competence is your ability plus skill with any task that you have to do. And then that equals then a possible solution to whatever that task is. Ability, you're born with. I mean, I know I've said this to you before. I'd love to be able to dunk the ball like Michael Jordan, but the DNA is just not going to work. I'm not getting off the ground. But I can learn, and that's a skill then, to jump higher than what I'm jumping right now. Or I could learn a different skill like I need to, 3-point shooting when you can't jump. A skill is a learned behavior, and you combine that with the knowledge that you have and abilities you're born with, and you get competences. And in golf, there's a bunch of different skills. You need to learn. A simple one would be club direction. Another one would be speed. Those are different skills that influence part of the golf game. And you can learn skills. You can improve on your skills. You're limited by your ability, what you're born with, but you definitely can learn new skills.
And you're limited by your concepts, I think, right? Not limited, but they influence where you go. And
what you think about the most you become. So if you're thinking about the wrong things, then it's definitely going to limit you. If your concept's not a good or clear concept, then you're not going to get as good as you could anyway.
Yeah. Well, let's start diving into this fun little list. And the first one is, and it's a little personal to me, but it should be personal to everybody, practicing putting to create great distance control.
Okay, distance control by putting. That's speed rules. That's definitely a real good one, and it should be important to every single golfer on the planet. But before I say anything about that, I want to explain a little bit about the background of setting up these different practice programs in these different areas of skill and competencies that you have to learn. First off, what makes setting up the practice program a little complicated is there's so many different areas, whether it's getting the ball in play off the tee, whether it's a transport shot, or whether it's bunker, or whether it's putting for direction or distance or green reading. There's just so many things. And for setting up the trainings program, you have to set the challenge point correctly, the degree of difficulty, and you have to set up the contextual interference that matches with, where am I picking this golfer up right now? And what really makes it difficult, even for my own trainings program, I could be an expert in driving, so then I need to practice driving a certain way because I'm already really good, and be very poor in bunker. So then I need to set my bunker practice up totally different than where I'm skilled at, my driving practice. And that would be an important thing to keep in the back of our mind when I give you some of these, and I'll let you know who it's for, where we're at with this one right now. In other words, if we do distance control putting, when we talk about constraint lead, you can use, we're working on an area called the tasks. You can change the rules, the tools, or the environment. One of those three things you can turn the meter up on or turn the meter down on or change it completely however you want. My opinion is in putting, the eyes play a very, very important role. So what you do with your eyes and how you use your eyes are really important. So we'll do some like games or tasks that involve the eyes. But to start with, I always like messing around with the tools with distance control putting. And the tools would be, for my little putting bag, I probably have 35 different kinds of balls in it. And we putt with all kinds of different balls. So you have to adapt, you have to adjust, especially for distance control, because a ping pong ball is not going to go anywhere near the distance with the same swing as a super ball, something like that. I like to putt on all surfaces. And I like to putt. I made a whole bunch. My club fitting and building skills came to work there. I built a whole bunch of different, I'll call them goofy putters, but I made a putter out of a stone. I made a putter out of a stick I found in the woods. I made a putter out of a gummy bear, an acrylic.
I think you mentioned that once before, yeah.
I drilled a hole in it and put his putter shaft in it, put a nice leather putter grip on it, and people love putting with that one. But when you changed the tools, the balls or the clubs and the surface, your sensory system is so much more open to the two things that influence distance control the most once you kind of hit it on the center, and that's the size and shape of the swing and the speed of the swing. Then you've got to adjust with every new ball or every new club. So I like when doing distance control with putting, starting with changing the tools. Now we're talking about someone who already has a halfway repetitive motion. I mean, if they got a lousy putter, the first thing I'm going to start with is send them to you and get them fit for a putter.
Yeah.
But let's go on the premise the putter fits them. They can putt a little bit, but they need to improve their distance control. They've already played a little golf. And then the first thing I would do is change the tools and what we do. And then I would change the environment with eyes open, eyes closed, close your eyes, putt, and guess where the ball went to the target. I would have them do things with one arm, with one leg, looking at the hole, everything that changes the way they're gonna putt or set up to putt.
So I keep thinking of the word variability as you're talking about this, for sure. to get different feels, right?
Yeah, because you learn faster and deeper like that. If I sat there and putted this now don't get me wrong. If I've got someone who's at a very low skill level, they're not even set up the same every time, then I probably have them sit on a 20-foot putt and putt many balls from that 20 feet, getting out of the address position, back into the address position, out of the address position, back, so that they develop that skill pretty quick and we can move on. I mean, I want it to be as soon as possible game-like, close to how the game is played. That's high contextual interference, but that's for someone who already can repeat some things. Not everything and not all the time, but can repeat some things. But for someone who doesn't, then yeah, I'm not going to vary that much to begin with, but I'm going to make him do it a lot so that he gets closer quicker so that we can start varying things. Because when we start varying things, the skill, distance control, the stuff you need to learn to develop that skill gets schooled better.
So as I'm thinking about this, for example, rolling out a big sheet of plastic or something on a putting green so it's almost like a stimp of almost super fast is a good way to create some of that variability, maybe. Right?
Yeah, okay, and that comes under environment, and I said earlier, but the balls and the clubs, but on all surfaces. Good putters will challenge you on all surfaces. I mean, if you get up there and the guy knows he's a good putter, and you say, okay, come on, we're going to putt on this carpet right here, he's going to think one thing and one thing only: I'm going to win this game.
Yeah.
What do I need to do? I need to get with that ball to that. All we got's a tennis ball? Okay, we'll use a tennis ball on this carpet, and I'm going to putt right straight to that leg on the chair and hit it. It reminds me, it just reminded me in the early days I went to Berlin to play the Berlin Open. It was the best tournament in Germany. They combined two courses, a German course and an American course, and they had a really old classical clubhouse with wood floors and a dartboard. And just behind where they threw from the dartboard, they marked two cracks in the wood with a color. So you could see that's where one crack is on the right and about 3 meters away on the left, another crack. And they would gamble all night, called crack putting. They would putt across the grain of this wooden board, this wooden floor, and you had to get the ball. They'd play up, back, up. You'd have to get it to stop in the one crack, stop in the next crack, and stop in the next crack, going back and forth. And whoever got it in the least strokes took the money off the bar. And they're all good putters, and they all enjoyed this game, even though the surface had nothing to do with golf.
Yeah. Wow. Well, let's move on to number 2. And that was a lot of fun. Wow. Great shot impact with your irons.
It looks like here we're talking about controlling the angle of attack and timing.
It could be, and it could be, maybe centeredness, but also kind of where you are in low point and things. I mean, this is such a wide
attack and timing.
Yeah, right.
If you're going vertical, it would take me in one direction and horizontal another. But when you talk about center of contact, I just love using stuff like spray or tape or whatever, and have them try to hit it on the toe and the heel. Try to hit it on the toe and the heel. If you can hit it on the toe and the heel, then try to hit it on the toe, the heel, and the middle. I had players where we would divide the tape or the face in 6 spots, top right, top left, bottom left, and the middle 3 lanes. They could hit everyone with one shot. And they were the guys that when you looked at their forged iron, there was like about a quarter-size burnt spot right in the middle.
I'm not that guy yet.
I got $50.
Did you?
I'm pretty good with mid, but it's not like Tiger. It's not like a dime. But that would be, again, you want to hit it in the middle, so you vary what you try to control where you're hitting it. And again, it's a task that leads to the solution. You don't tell them what to do. You give them the task, and they've got to find a solution for how do I hit it on the toe? What does it feel like when I hit it on the toe? That's something a lot of people don't even know. What does it sound like when I hit it on the toe?
Well, at the end, they sort of say, wow, that was great, but they don't think about it, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the thing about stuff like that, not everybody's the same, but you're right, most of the people don't.
Now, how about related to low point? I think you've talked in the past a little bit about some low point things you do, but...
Yeah, most people, you know this yourself, everybody knows who plays golf. Most people's low point's behind the ball, meaning away from the target, and it's usually because they're releasing early. Not always, but usually. Yeah. And that's usually because they're not turning or they're needing to do something to close the club face. I like doing there, again, I would go into the environment part of this constraint led for the task and change the area around the ball. I like doing stuff like putting something behind the ball that you're not supposed to hit, like lay a towel down, or you can have a good thing to put your old lie board that you're not using anymore, lay it down behind it, or, something like that, to get them to move the low point, and then they have to figure out a way not to hit whatever's back there. And the same thing, you could put something in front and they have to hit it, like a tee or a little plastic chip or something, and they have to hit it. So they need to move the low point to the left. I mean, we know what we want them to do. We want them to move left, turn left, and hit later. But you don't want to tell them that. You want them to have to figure that out themselves and figure a way to do it themselves. And the way to do it is don't hit whatever the object is that's behind there.
Now, it's funny as we have this discussion. I don't know why I'm thinking about this all of a sudden, but I would say in the 8 or 10 or whatever years I've been doing this kind of stuff and been on the driving range at different places, I've never seen anybody do these. And I don't, I have to say myself, I admit I don't typically do these. I do maybe not as much as I should because I really don't practice much, trying to hit it in different spots of the club, but certainly not like the towel drill and stuff. Never, ever, not once. Not one time.
I go through a ton of. Tonight, that was the nice thing about being sport director. We would order the paint that you use, that chalk paint, environmentally friendly for the golf course, and I would draw a line on the ground. When someone needed that drill or that game, I'd draw a line on the ground and tell them, okay, I'm going to go get a cappuccino right now. You call me when the line's gone. All I need you to do is address the back end of the line and call me when the line's gone. Yeah. And they'll always hit back. And for the most part, the biggest eye-awakening thing there is they really don't know that they're 5 inches behind the ball when they hit the ground. So with the line there, and they take a divot and they see that the divot is 5 inches behind the ball, they'll start moving forward. They'll start releasing later.
Yeah, that's for sure. Now,
it's something that it's a movement that takes time to learn. That's not something you learn overnight. The hitting the different places on the face is way easier than that.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, we've talked about this one a little bit before, but maybe you have some other perspectives you want to share, maximizing your driving distance. And let me, I think I'm like a week into a fitness program. So I see a little bit of differences with some of the mic clubs that I made, right? The different weights. Yeah. But part of maximizing your driving distance, I've got a greater appreciation, at least personally, that being a little bit better in terms of flexibility and stuff is so huge for two reasons. First, you probably swing better. But second, you don't hurt yourself when you're trying to swing fast.
Yeah.
Right?
Here's a shameless plug because you told me about it. I hooked up and got everything from Rotex Motion, and it definitely helps me.
Yeah. Yeah.
To increase range of motion.
Yeah.
And as far as speed goes, I mean, again, if you're not doing some things right with your golf swing, you don't want to be faster. But let's just say you're doing some things right. You're hitting it kind of in the middle repetitively, and you're got a decent path and face angle. So if you got that, because that's the first way to get maximum driving distance. Most people lose distance simply because of the geometry at impact is poor. But if the geometry is okay, doesn't have to be good, you're close to a good smash, then you're going to need to increase your speed. And to increase your speed, there's two channels you can use. The overspeed sticks that everybody uses is an underload training. It's a neural channel that gets you to fire and recruit faster. For me, that's not a real solution because I've always been really good at firing and recruiting. Where I suffer is exactly what we just talked about, loss of range of motion, and my muscle skeleton system is weaker. So I like doing overload training. For me, throwing medicine balls, all different, I use it in the squash hall, all different types of throws, but a lot of golfer left and right with a bouncing medicine ball. It's an oof ball that bounces off the wall and comes back to me. And I also like I use speed chains and speed ropes, whether it's Mach 3 or whether it's the speed chain. That's a progressive overload, and that does wonders for what I need, and that's to strengthen my muscle skeleton system. There is one thing that's real important when you're doing this speed training, is it has to resemble as close as possible to the sport art that you're doing, the movement pattern. You have to fire the same muscles in the same order, and then either with an underload or an overload, and then you get an effect that stays with you.
I think and I think that in the past is when I've done things where I sort of tweaked something, right? Where it's just simply trying to sort of swing harder. Well, swing harder, isn't it? You better do it in the right motion that is really like you would do it if you were on the golf course.
And in the right order.
Yeah.
And with this medicine ball, it's not like I think I work with a 2-kilo ball. It's not that heavy, but it offers resistance. And if you don't move from the ground upwards and from the inside outwards, you're not going to be able to throw it very well. And it's the same thing when I use the progressive overload with this chains or ropes. You're forced to move from the ground up and from the inside out. You can't really throw the ball by not turning.
Yeah.
You have to. It makes you want to do it in the right sequence.
Now, one of my favorite ones that I'm interested in is controlling distances for like 20 to 80 yard pitch shots. And I got a little bit of sense of some of the things. My goodness, you haven't hit tennis balls with this, but I'm like a big sort of a Goldilocks person where when I get the feel of this right, I like to have practiced hitting it one distance and maybe a little shorter and then somewhere in between and things like that. But over to you. You tell me how you like to do this.
Well, the first thing I like to do is see, like, do they got good wedges?
Yeah.
We're both fitters. You need the proper equipment if you're going to get distance control with wedges. You need loft and no loft. You need bounce and no bounce. You need 3 wedges is pretty much a must today because the wedge is really a 9-iron. But you need 3 wedges, and the first thing I like having people do is hit the one target with all 3 clubs.
Yeah.
And then I like them doing 3 targets with 1 club. When they get better at that, then I actually have them hit all the irons to 1 target. And then lots of different clubs, including the wedge, not the wedge, the 9, the 8, the 7, to different targets. So they're constantly changing their size of the swing, speed of the swing, rate of rotation, because of the equipment. That, again, would be under constraint-led, the task, and the task would be under then the tools. You always can change the rules. Tools are the environment, and I'd change the tools and make them learn a solution for, and you wrote 20 to 80 meters. I'll do 20-meter jumps for someone of less skill, 20, okay. 40, 60, 80, and I'll do 10-meter jumps for someone of more skill. And I've had players that were so good with their wedges that we do 5-meter jumps.
Wow.
So they'd go, they had with one club, 20 meter, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, and on. And then 6 different clubs to 20, 6 different clubs to 25, 6 different clubs to 30, 6 different clubs to 35.
Boy, then they're really honing it, aren't they?
Yeah, you're required to, okay, when you're doing distance control with the wedges, the prerequisite is you have to have, and that would be your number 3, impact position with irons. You have to have a repetitive impact. They could never do, and they could maybe do the 20, 40, 60, 80, but they could never do anything more complicated than that till they get a relative repeat. And I mean, like 6 times out of 10 has to be pretty much the same, has to be close to the same. Because if you're hitting it totally one time thin, one time heavy, one time okay, which swing are you going to use?
Yeah.
Which swing are you going to use for what? You have nothing to base it on. So you do have to. A prerequisite there is you don't have to be perfect, but you got to get like more than half, just over half, have to be good, and then it's okay. Then I'll create the degree of difficulty so that the intervals are, the difference is enough that, yeah, you'll figure it out. You'll get a chance to figure it out. You might not get it right away, but you'll get a chance to figure it out. But if you're poor at impact, even 20-yard intervals is too much.
So every
and then
once
you need to sit at 1, probably the shortest, and work on impact. Work on some of the things for position number 3 with short swings.
So if all this is really important to you, every once in a while sort of calibrating yourself and putting a little bit of the goodies on the face like this Dr. Scholl's and being sure you have good impact is important rather than just hitting balls, right?
I always say the first commandment is the centerness of contact. Mm-hmm. If you don't, I like saying you got to find the ball. And people think I mean after you hit it down in the fairway or the rough, and I go, no, and the ground in front of you. On the ground in front of you, you got to find the ball, and that means use the tool like it is built and is built to hit in the center of the face. So find the center of the face. When you find that, then we'll look and see, is it going out of the direction? Is the face turned left or right? And then we'll see if we can fix that. But first find the face. And then you can go into details like controlling low point or doing 10-yard intervals with your wedges. But you got to find the ball first.
Yeah. Now, how about improving bunker play?
My experience with bunker play, teaching bunker play, is most people never get out of the early stages of learning there. So games and high level of constraint, real how golf is played, that don't get too many people that can get that far. When I coach the national team and the county team, yeah, but your average Joe is happy when he's not in the bunker. So he's got to definitely design his bunker program to learn the basics, like invite bounce. They need to learn that, hey, bounce is a part of bunker. You need that, and it's your friend. He's there to help you. And I'll usually have them, I have a worksheet. There's about 8 or 10 things on it, and I have them try 3 different things. One would be like 8-iron pitching wedge, lob wedge, or sand wedge. So loft is what's there. They try all 3. Tell me what's happening. How did it feel and what are you doing? I'll have them take the ball position to the left, to the middle, and to the right. I'll have them take their center of gravity to the left, to the middle, to the right. I'll have them use a lot of wrist, don't use a lot of wrist. I'll have them swing big or swing small and in between. Have them swing fast, slow. I'll let them go through a series of trying a few things, and then they have to give me feedback and tell me what did they discover while trying those few things. And most people come to conclusions that they wouldn't have guessed if you didn't let them do it themselves. For instance, the bunker swing is faster than they expect.
Yeah. Yeah, trying different clubs. I used to fool around, just play around with like a 7-iron, and I even had a 3-iron every once in a while, just because I'd seen some things on the web about, and there's the classic Sevy 3-iron bunker shot thing, right, where you get real low.
We call it Sevy, the game we play, but it's either with a 7 or an 8-iron, and mostly an 8-iron because an 8-iron today is a 7-iron. And you got to hit all kinds of different bunker shots and you can play 20 different games with it. But you get used to getting that club laying on its back and letting the trailing edge glide through the sand or bounce upward. It definitely helps a little bit better player. You don't have to be a good player. Bogey golfer will get that from me, but a beginner won't.
Do most people spend enough time practicing bunker play, do you think?
No, they avoid bunker.
Yeah, they just don't want to be.
They avoid it like the play. Most people practice so incorrect. Yeah. They go to the driving range and repeat what they already can do. And the reason is they don't want to make a mistake and they want to look good.
Yeah.
And that has nothing to do with learning.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Boy, and we didn't think we'd get through all these kind of as quick as we do. So who knows? We may get to that 1 or 2 extra things if we keep at it. How about that, Mike?
That sounds good to me. I don't want to be 45 minutes again.
No. We're at about 25.
People turn us off at 20.
Yeah. Now, maybe a combined one, sort of pre-shot routine and post-shot routine. And maybe what are what are the basics of creating a good pre-shot routine? And post-shot routine is just as important, isn't it?
Definitely. I practice pro-shot routine almost, not quite because there's a little less to it, but it's just as important, almost as much as pre-shot routine. We do a lot of different little games like don't talk to your ball for pro-shot routine or post-shot routine. Yeah, but pre-shot routine is basically 4 levels of concentration. You need to gather information. You need to make a decision on the information. You need to get a feel for the information, and you need to bring it to the ball. And if you read through psychology, there's 4 levels of concentration, wide and external, down to narrow and internal. And you basically go through those 4 levels, gathering your information, deciding on your information, what club, what target, whatever, and then you got to get a feel for it, okay, which is your practice. And then the last part is the ritual. The part that you go through. I have 6 pages that go just for routine, and everyone has to read it and fill it out. I make them write it down. I believe that what you think just before performance has the most influence on performance. So I definitely want them to control what they're thinking. And we also know you can only have one thought at a time. I think we've discussed this before, but if your wife tells you she can multitask, she doesn't really understand how the brain works. Because multitasking, she could probably jump quickly from one task to the other, and it seems like multitasking, but you can only have one thought at a time. So if you know these 2 things, that what you think shortly before performance has the most influence on performance, and you know you can only have one thought at a time, then damn, I want to control that. I want to write I always say, you're Steven Spielberg, write the script. Right, exactly how you're going to do it. And I'll even have them do the ritual on, now with modern phones, do a voice message. And they have to follow the director. The director says, you do this, you do that, you do that, and this timing, and get a feel for it. Nobody gets it right the first time, but it definitely helps everybody.
Yeah, I never thought about writing it down. I think that's a great idea. Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely
helps to lock it in.
And you got to understand that routine, and I've told everybody this, it's a dynamic thing. It's not the same for all the different shots you have. My chip routine is completely different than my putt routine. And my putt routine has nothing to do with my iron routine. I use a different routine for different tasks, different things that you have to do, problems that you have to solve. Sometimes, like using my eyes for distance control on putting helps me way more than if I would do it like I did my drive. I use my eyes on my drive, but not nearly as much as on my distance control putts.
We're gonna diverge with something, because I found out something and we'll come back to post shot again. But this just you said eyes 2 times. I read some stuff recently. I guess it's Craig Farnsworth. You probably know him. Big visual guy. And I hadn't realized that he sometimes does sort of a test where do people really see the distance correctly of their putts? I mean, if you have any perception of that, or are there any things you do with people so that you look at like a putt 15, 20 feet away and you close your eyes and you kind of put your hands out to where, with your eyes closed, where you think that is, and it's different?
We'll do one. You remind me of 2 different little tasks that we do. One is you set up to a putt, you look at your target, you make the putt, close your eyes, turn the putter upside down, grab the head of the putter, and you have to walk forward and put the putter grip down where you think the ball stopped.
Okay, that's about how far you hit. Right.
We'll also, but to start with that, we'll also do it with just the hole. You set up no ball, look at the hole, turn the putter around, and go put with your eyes closed, go put the putter grip in the hole. We'll also do one where you guess. We'll actually we make a game out of it where you play match play. I'm playing against you. I give you a putt, and you tell me how long the ball's going to roll. How long will it take the ball to stop for that putt? And we time it. That's the same thing with these smartphones today. You got a stopwatch on every one, and 2/100ths of a second. You time it, and let's say you missed it by half a second. Now you give me a task, and I have to say how long it's going to roll. And if I'm over or under a half a second, you win or I win.
Yeah, play for quarters or whatever, right? Yeah.
Yeah. What I do. I don't like promoting gambling.
Okay, I hear you.
Although I hardly, if you and I played, we definitely would have a bet. We'd figure out something, and we'd adjust at 9 because we don't know each other that well.
Bob Williams and I are going to do that, by the way, if he ever comes to Oak Ridge. I snuck that in there.
But what I would never do with you, Tony, is bet any sum of money. I just like having something on the line. So what I did was I bought one of those aluminum boxes with a couple decks of cards and 4 colored poker chips in it.
Yeah.
And what we do is I give you 10 poker chips and me 10 poker chips, and every time you win, you get one from me. Every time I win, I get one from you. We even do a game where you take a poker chip and throw it on the green, and wherever it rolls to, we both putt there. Closest to it gets to pick the chip up. Who has all the chips in the end?
I like that. That's great.
So it's a game, and there's consequences. It's you're gambling, but not with your money.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's more your honor. You don't want to lose.
That's right. Great. I'm glad we had that little divergence. We really got a few great things there. So thanks. So let's go back to post-shot routine, okay?
Okay, we'll do one. I'd already told you one game. We'll do a game just to get people aware. Just want them to be aware of what they do. You're not allowed to talk to your ball after you hit it. If you say anything to your ball, you get a stroke.
So tell me why you don't want people to talk to the ball, though.
No, I didn't say that. I said even in the beginning, it's not about not talking to your ball. It's being aware of what you do after you hit the ball.
Yeah. I got it.
That's the goal. Like when we do this, I didn't say it earlier, but I wanted to. I always start with outcome first. What do I want? Whenever I'm designing any kind of practice for anybody in any area, what's the reason we're doing this training session? Because I want motion with a purpose. I want them to do something for a reason, with a purpose. And the purpose of don't talk to your ball is be aware of what you do after the shot. And that's a really easy one. It's easy to be aware, did I talk to my ball or did I not talk to my ball? And then later, I don't care if you talk to your ball. I just want you to be aware of what's happening in the post-shot routine. And what we really like to do is, when the shot doesn't come off the way you want it to, stop again and ask yourself, what was my intention? What did I want? Make a practice. It's like you're doing the pre-shot routine over. You're in level 2, the second stage of this 4 levels of concentration. You've already decided what to do. Now you get a feel for it. Okay, and then once you take a couple of practice swings and okay, that was what I wanted to do, you throw the club in the bag, not throw, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And when it hits the bottom and comes to rest, that shot's done. It's over. You don't give it any more energy or thought the rest of the day.
That's great. Very good. Now, we're right around 30 minutes or so we're not going to add any extra things. But, you forgot to ask me something, didn't you?
Yeah, when we first got together, I think it was back by RT6, I told you one of the little sayings that I like passing around here at work had something to do with this task-oriented training and the task leads solution. Do you remember what it was?
Since I have the little card in front of me, yes, I do. It's so great. I mean, I've even, it might be the little thing for the podcast that I put this up. The task leads to the solution. Learning is the repeated attempt to solve a task, not the repetition of the solution for a specific task.
Yeah, and that says it all. And if people could just learn to practice like that. Now, again, if you're a little bit along, you don't have to be an expert, you're a little bit along, that statement applies to you. If you're a total beginner or not really skilled at much things, you do got to start a little different. But after you've started a little different and gained a few competencies in grip and setup, then you need to start doing exactly that again. Since I need to send you out on a adventure where you discover.
Yeah, perfect. And that gets into the variability, and it gets into constraints, and I mean, all those things are part of that, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, great, Mike. Another great episode, the 8th one. Any final things you want to say at the end today?
Well, you'd ask, how do you get final words to get people to play their best golf? I would say, and we're kind of summarizing it like that, you need good fundamentals. If you don't have good fundamentals, go to a golf pro and get good fundamentals. That's step 1. Second step is, and you probably need to do it parallel, not afterwards, get good equipment. You have to get equipment that rewards what you're trying to do and doesn't hold you up from being able to do it. Number 3, you're like this one, you have to decide to have a good attitude. You have to choose to have fun. You have to have a good attitude. So you need good fundamentals, good equipment, a good attitude. Then you need good habits. Because you play with habits, and you call these habits up through feel, and you develop them through the way you practice, and most people practice incorrectly. I have very few people, even the best golfers that I've ever taught, who came to me and they knew already what good practice was. They didn't know what good practice was. They had to learn what good practice was, practice that makes it easier for you to play the game well and score well when you're on the golf course.
That helps you develop confidence and trust in what you're doing. And so somehow it's game-like and somehow can get harder and maybe sometimes harder than what you're doing on the course. Yeah,
like the Navy SEAL guy said, we train hard so that when it gets to the real thing, it's easier.
Yeah.
And most people don't want to make a mistake when they practice, and that's absolutely wrong. They need to learn. Swallow your pride. Don't go out there and just hit a bunch of 5-woods because you know you can hit a 5-wood. What you can't do is what you need to practice.
Yeah. Well, very good.
Naturally, like you said, though, you need good guidance there then.
Yeah. How to develop a great practice program, for sure. Mm-hmm. Well, very good. This wraps up 2021, as we always do. Mike, thanks for the time, and there's some just really great nuggets today. And, I wish you and your family the best and wish you a lot of fun in what you're going to be doing different over the next year.
Play more golf with grandkids next year. That's going to be great.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks much. And hang in here at the end. There's just another thing or two I wanted to mention to you. So
okay, but I want to do my little slogan.
Oh, I was hoping you were going to
I want to send the audience back to Tony because he builds excellent clubs and you play better golf.
Thanks, Mike.
The Golf Improvement Podcast is sponsored by Tony Wright and Game Improvement Golf. Tony creates exceptional golf clubs. You shoot lower scores.
Mike, thanks. I actually think this is the most valuable interview you've done with me for golfers of the 8 that we've done. There's a lot of great advice in this interview, but if there's one thing for you to take and do to improve, it's to learn how to practice effectively. Instead of going to the range or going to a practice green or going to a chipping green and hitting a lot of golf balls with no specific purpose. If you want to get in touch with Mike, I provided his email in the show notes. And Mike, enjoy this next wonderful stage of your very successful life. Well, my shout out today is one I just realized as I started recording this I have to do. I was able to get a full ride undergraduate scholarship to Carnegie Mellon University as a result of a caddy scholarship program offered by the Western Pennsylvania Golf Association. Back then, yearly tuition was about, back then, right? Yeah, what is back then? About $2,000 a year there, and now at Carnegie Mellon, it's something like $40,000 a year. I can never thank the WPGA enough. Maybe some of you listeners can think back, too, about some organization or group of people who made a huge difference in your lives, and thank them. Well, that's it for today. In 2 weeks, I will either be back with the start of 2 highlight episodes for the podcast I did in 2021, or I'll be doing a totally new interview to start 2022. Either way, happy 2022. Take care and stay very, very safe.
Game Improvement Golf, your source of information and inspiration to become an exceptional golfer now. www.gameimprovementgolf.com